Are we rolling?
It's rolling.
We're rolling, baby.
So we're just going to tell you a little bit about today. Give me that thing.
Day 3 of the Alaska adventures. And I have to say, it started off a little bit slow. I was wondering if we were even going to get out of Silver Horse. Would you say?
Yeah. We'll give you a quick recap. So day 1, we fly from Chelan. And we get to the Silver Hilton Steel Lodge, which was really cool. Jen, tell us about the landing.
Edited version.
Please don't edit.
I was scared fucking shitless. I had landed there before, so I knew it was a tight landing, and we had talked about our weight, and we had a lot of weight. So Judd came in, and we came in hot. We came in, and I could see the trees right by our side, and I was like, oh, okay, are we landing? Are we doing this? And then no, we came back up. It was like way too tight. So we circled back around. At that point, I was like, I'm okay with not staying here. I'll sleep on the ground. I don't need a bed. We don't have to stay here. Like, it's beautiful. It is like a king's palace, but when you're about to piss your pants, you don't care about that anymore. But the second time he came in, it was a little bit slower, and he dropped it nice and soft, and we landed smooth. But I was clenching. I was clenching my cheeks. I was praying.
Now you have to understand this runway is lined with trees on either side, maybe 300 feet max across.
And I didn't see the runway. I just saw the river. So I was like, are we coming down right next to this river? Like, I didn't see the runway that we were coming down because it wasn't a runway. It's just like an open green field. So it's not really a runway, but it is.
Yeah. So the runway goes around like a bend of the river. And so on one end of the runway, you have river and trees. And the other end of the runway, you have river and trees.
So if you don't stop, you hit a fucking tree.
Or the river, one of the two. It really is take your pick at that point. But Jed got us down. The place was really kick-ass. I mean, just beautiful location, all by yourself out in the river. We got to go fishing upriver for a little bit. Nice little walk. Saw a bunch of bald eagles. Did not catch a thing except for all the sticks that I caught.
Yeah, we all caught sticks.
I was pretty good at catching sticks. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm the best, but I'm the greatest.
All I wanted was a Dolly Verdon because I had been to this bay before. I had hooked one before. I knew what it was like, and I wanted it again. But we went home empty-handed, and I was really rooting for fish that night. But Judd still made us a whole new meal. I didn't even know I was getting a cook lesson. Bannock and beans is what we had, which bannock is a fancy name for some flatbread that you and I would know as an elephant ear, but he made it plain, and I was like, let's throw some garlic salt in it, let's do this. He's like, whoa, we're gonna put jam on this. So I spiced mine up. I split it in 2 balls and did one salty one with garlic salt and one with cinnamon and sugar. So, well, I couldn't find the cinnamon, but I wanted it. I did sugar and then put jam on it and spice it up. But that was pretty sweet. Learning something new. We had bannock, beans, and bread. Yeah. It was nice to sleep in a bed. Day 2, I had a second shower. I felt kind of guilty. Like, I came out here to go camping, and I've had 2 showers. But last time, I passed by a shower on day 1. I regretted it on day 6. So this time I showered. I slept nice, like a queen. We had a fire indoors with music. Oh, it was so cozy. In the kitchen, right where the dishes are, there's just a river, running through. So it was just like, it was like a picture painted. It was so beautiful. It was amazing.
It was quite relaxing to sleep next to because you open up the front windows and all you can hear is the river going past you, and so that was really cool. So that was a good day 1. Day 2, we had a little bit of nice coffee time with Poppy out on the deck, just looking over the river, watching bald eagles go back and forth. If you can't really tell, it's really freaking windy right now. We're not really sure what's going on here, but it's definitely really windy, which is like how all day was. Don't get there yet, Jen. Calm down. Take it down a notch. All right. So we felt the wind in a big way. All right. So after we ate breakfast, what did we have for breakfast?
Oh, we had French toast, and it was on Dave's Killer Bread. Yep. And we smothered that baby with peanut butter. Yep. Oh, and mental note, I separated the jam. I'll take the blame. I didn't think we needed a big whole thing of jam, so we separated it out. And the first thing Poppy says is, well, why didn't we bring the whole thing of jam? Who did that? So note to self, future people, bring the whole damn thing of jam, okay? But back to the story. We had French toast and peanut butter, maple syrup. We packed up our stuff and we took off. We knew there was a storm coming, but Poppy's a risk taker. He doesn't think about the next step. He just wants to get going. We get packed up, or you better get going, or you get left, which Josh did get left behind.
They had to leave me behind because of weight considerations.
Because the landing strip's too fucking small.
That's true. So at the end of the strip, there's all these trees standing, and so if you're too heavy, you can't get over the trees because you're too heavy. So we left me and most of the luggage at the lodge, and then Jen and Poppy went to Smithers. And then what'd you guys do at Smithers while Judd came back to get me?
Okay, at Smithers, they had, out of all things, a tiny little Ukrainian restaurant. And I thought it was Russian. Ukrainian is different than Russian. It is different. And I had pierogies, which for all of you that don't know, because I didn't know, and she thought I was crazy that I didn't know, is like a soft pot sticker with mashed potatoes in there, and then they put sauteed onions and sour cream, which they were really good. Some of them were a little bit frozen, I'll be honest, but I was so hungry I ate them. And then I got borscht soup, which I've had borscht soup before, but it was just like pureed beets and a dollop of sour cream. This one had like some other fancy stuff in there, so it was good. It was a new experience. We had spent some time there. We made friends with this airline girl, and I was chatting up with her, and she says to me, man, you could almost be an American. And I looked at her and I was like, almost an American? And she's like, yeah, you kind of have an accent. And I'm like, I am an American. Almost an American. She says, how do you say potato? I said potato. How else do you say potato? Potato? Potato. Yeah, potato. Big difference. Anyways, she made me laugh pretty hard. I had to write that down.
That was pretty good.
Okay. And then where we go from Smithers?
Well, I'm still at the lodge.
Oh, yeah.
So, in the meantime, I'm still at the lodge because it's like an hour round trip for Judd to go to Smithers, drop him off, then come back and get me. So I'm lackadaisically running around the place, taking pictures. I found a big moose antler that was stuck in the river, sat on this rock. It was pretty cool. And then Judd came and got me. We flew back to Smithers. And then we were sitting there waiting for the fuel truck to get us, which took a long time because he was fueling up a couple jets. And then after that, we took off from Smithers, and we just headed north because Poppy wanted to get north as quick as possible. We couldn't go to...
In Smithers, did we go across the street? Is that where we went across the street?
Nope.
It's a good thing we're doing this. It all starts to kind of blend together.
It is. So we headed north. We couldn't go into Alaska because there was a storm cell sitting over the coast of Alaska, so we couldn't get to anywhere in Alaska. And so we flew north to Whitehorse, and we were going to try to, go to Whitehorse and then go to Watson Lake or someplace like that. But it was so bad that we almost had to turn around. We almost had a whiteout. It was... Yeah.
Oh, all of a sudden, I was trying to sleep because the first time I vomited at the landing of the short landing strip, I did vomit. And so I was working really hard on just going to sleep so I wouldn't feel it. And I woke up and I see all just rain and Judd frantically trying to take a picture of nothing. And I'm like, what is he taking a picture of? This is just, you can't see nothing. And then it dinged on me, he can't see nothing. And then I realized we should be worried a little bit.
Pretty much. So it was so thick in there with just low clouds and low visibility.
He told the guy to turn the lights on bright because he couldn't land. He couldn't see where he was landing, to just turn the lights on so we could see. Yeah,
air traffic control was very nice to us. They turned up all the landing lights on the airstrips as bright as they could go so we could find out where the heck we were going because we could not see anything very well. So for all you non-flyers out there, that's non-VFR stuff. That's it's not good
stuff right there.
That's not fancy. That's some scary stuff.
Well, you have to be fancy to fly that.
Well, yeah, you gotta be fancy to fly that.
It means I've learned a lot. You're blind flying. You're relying all on your instruments. You're not seeing nothing. You're just doing all the stuff that's fancy down here. So that's fancy stuff.
Yep, that's fancy stuff. Anyway, so we landed safely, and then we figured out that the restaurant in the airport was closed. We went across the street to eat, and Poppy decided that we wanted to stay there for the night, which we couldn't because
they were booked. And I thought they were messing with me. I'm like, come on, man, give us a room. He's like, no, we've been booked for a month. I'm like, come on, mess messing with me. He was not messing with me. He was serious.
Totally serious. Turns out there were a total of 2 hotels that had openings in the entire town, and we took 2 of the last 4 rooms in Whitehorse that night. So we ate.
Happened in place.
It really happened in place. We ate, and then we had this whole hassle with a bunch of the taxis. You want to fill us in on that one?
We tried to bribe and barter with them, but they don't do that here. Bottom line, if you fly commercially into the airport, they will not take you to their hotel. Even if you're staying at your hotel, you have to fly in commercially. So I said, okay, well, he was going to let us hitch a ride maybe if he had a ride, but he was not nice. And so we ended up getting a taxi cab.
And apparently there's a pecking order for the taxi cabs there. And we started at the very back.
Well, because the guy at the back had talked to me, he said, I'll take you. And I was like, oh, I recognized a friendly face, so I went for him. And then he made us walk to the cab in front of him. And then that cab was like, oh, no, the next one, and the next one. Mind you, I got a backpack on the front, backpack on the back, and I'm like a mule hauling all my stuff, and they just keep directing us to the front.
Finally, we found someone that would take us to the hotel. Let's just say taxis are very expensive in Whitehorse. It was $16 to go a mile.
That was only a mile?
Well, 1.2 miles, but a mile.
Canadian, so $12.
Still, that's a long ways. If it was an Uber, it'd be like $2. Anyway, so we finally got to the hotel. We got into our room, and then Judd came up with a great idea.
Yes, Judd. Root beer floats from McDonald's.
So Judd said, let's go to McDonald's for root beer floats. I'd never seen a root beer float at McDonald's. Jen probably hadn't either.
I didn't know they had them. They don't. You make them yourself.
Exactly. We did not know this going in. But so what we did is we went there. We got a large soda, put root beer in it, got a large cone, and then dumped the cone in there. It's the ice cream, kept the cone out. And then voila. I ate the cone too.
And I got a fry. I did it.
She had to have her salty with her
Sorry,
sweet.
Elliot. I know I'm addicted.
It's okay. One time's not gonna kill you. Anyway, so we got that, all ate. It was really good. And then we went shopping for lemons. What else did we get, Jen, there when we went shopping just for lemons?
I have a food insecurity, and I had a high expectation.
Major food insecurity.
I had high expectations to catch a salmon tonight, which we snagged them, but we snagged them foul.
Foul hooks, all of them.
Regardless.
Except for Judd. Judd got one, but it wasn't a nice one, so he threw it back. But the rest of us were just hooking them on the tails and the fins and everywhere else.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Sorry.
Bottom line, we went to the grocery store for a lemon, and they had 1 lemon left. But then I got a sweet tooth, and I wanted a little something sweet, and then I wanted something salty, so we got popcorn. But then we're like, well, shoot, Poppy's gonna be mad if we get popcorn, not apples. So we got popcorn and apples and grapes and chocolate and cheese. And then once I start, I'm just like, oh, I just need this, I need that. But we're very limited on space.
And it turns out refrigeration and microwaves also, because there was none in the hotel. Absolutely none. And by the way, side note in the hotel, Jen and I could have done a better job spackling that hotel. It was terrible.
Did you see the shower where there's just all of a sudden just caulking, just smeared? It's like there's no hole there. There's no nothing.
It really looked like a 3-year-old was given like a knife for peanut butter and jelly and decided to smear it all over the wall instead of the bread. It was terrible.
Yeah, the standards are not there. But we were at the Days Inn, so let's just correct ourselves there.
Yeah, it was a clean bed.
$126 a night. So I mean, come on. For $126
Canadian, at least. We're not sure what that actually is with the conversion rate, but it was Canadian. Anyway, so good night's sleep. This morning, Judd wakes us up at like 6 to go to Tim Hortons, which Jen had never been to Tim Hortons. So tell us how you feel about that.
They have a lot of options, and I'm a little indecisive. But I got to get something sweet and something salty and and a coffee to keep up with these people. So I got a little tidbits, little tidbites, and a sausage McMuffin and a coffee, and we sat there with Poppy and we talked business about having a whole pie and dishing out the pieces and not sitting around waiting for our little slice.
Yep.
Right?
And meanwhile, it was raining and we couldn't go anywhere. And so we went back to the hotel. We updated a bunch of things on Poppy's iPad, and then we took another nap because that was great. Jen didn't take a nap. She went and talked to Ryan for a while, which was good for her. And then what else did you do while we were sleeping?
Oh, I went and found out what soup they had because, I'm still on the food thing. I went and saw what because I knew we were leaving soon. I wanted to bulk up, you know. So I went and saw what soup they had, and they had French onion soup. So I sat down, by myself, which I normally don't do, and had a cup of soup. And this little boy, it was with his dad, and he's like, "Dad, look, the sunshine." I'm like, "Yes, sunshine. Keep praying for sunshine." And so his dad looks behind. He's like, kind of like, what is this lady talking to my son for? But bottom line is we started talking, and he's like, what are you doing up here? I was like, we are trying to fish. Where's the good spots? He looked like a local. And I was like, tell me, like, where can I get some fish? So I busted out my phone. He told me all the hot museums, just in case we got rained in, all the places to fish. And then, even though I didn't really know what it meant, I asked him, like, okay, what are you fishing on? What are you catching them on? What's hot? And he told me there was these little frog things that sit on top of the water, and they jump around, and the fish will go at those. I don't remember what they're called. Judd, what's that little frog thing called? Rapala? For fishing.
Yeah, was it Rapala?
Rapala, yeah. So we were learning all sorts of little fishing techniques. And bottom line, I'm trying to soak up the knowledge from the locals because I don't know if we were going to get stuck there. I wanted to have something to do, something to see, soak up the history. I found, which my dad would have loved, the Transportation Museum, which had like bobsleds, planes, trains, cars. Another museum was like the McBride, which is like the gold rush and all the animals, all taxidermy. Yeah. Is that how you say it?
Taxidermy.
Huh. And bottom line, as soon as I found a game plan, Judd saw an opening. He's like, okay, it's getting clear. Like, you guys ready to go? And when it's ready to go, like, you better get your shit together or you're going to get left, because Poppy makes moves. Poppy jumped in somebody else's cab. Was that our cab? Bottom line, he doesn't care. He just jumps in. I'm like, I don't even think this is our cab. Did someone call you? He's like, oh yeah, someone called us. I'm like, I didn't call a cab. Did you call a cab? He's like, no worries. Get in the cab. Get in the cab. So we all hopped in the cab. You almost left Judd.
Almost left Judd because he was, actually doing the work they need to be doing. Actually making sure.
I'm the one that called the cab.
Yeah. Oh, wait. We found out Judd called the cab. Get in here. You probably need to tell the story.
Here, Judd, come on.
Judd needs to tell the story about how we almost stole his own cab.
Stole my what?
Stole his cab.
Judd.
Stole my cab? Well, it was our cab.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter.
So Judd is.
The man that called the cab. So I was trying to get Poppy out of the car because I said, Poppy, we're stealing somebody else's cab. And he goes, who cares? Get in the car. Get Judd.
And I was on the phone with customs.
Yeah,
I was on the phone with
What were you
customs.
doing, Judd?
I was calling customs to get our clearance into Juneau.
Because Judd likes to do things by the book. Like, he likes to do
So
the
I figured you guys
things.
were on your way down, so I asked him to call us a cab. And then the cab came, and I did ask Poppy to get in the cab, or told him that was our cab. And then you tried to get him out. That's funny.
Failed communication. I just saw him run out the door, and I was like, oh. And you asked if that was our cab, and I'm like, I didn't call a cab. Bottom line is, Judd has good judgment. What?
Mike to your mouth.
Judge has good judgment. And I was really itching to get out of there. And I'll never push another pilot to get their ass up in the air if they don't feel comfortable getting in the air.
So why is that?
Well,
because I almost pissed my pants today. You tell me.
All right, I'll tell my story. So we figure out we're going to go to Juneau because that's the place where we can actually come back in the United States, and they'll actually welcome us with open arms and not say, get back in your plane, get the hell out of this country, and go back to Canada.
Well, tell me you have to go to certain spots. Like, I didn't know that.
Well, yeah. So you have to go to a port of entry, one that is open. That's most important. You got to make sure they're open. Otherwise, they're not going to let you stay. And two, you got to have phone calls like Judd was making to make sure that they know you're coming, so it's not a surprise.
And
you don't want to
you
surprise.
need licensing because we didn't have that.
Yeah, you need stickers and your passports, and we figured out we didn't have a legal sticker, which was great. And I'm really wondering how Poppy got in and out of Canada the last couple of years since the last one was in 2016. But that's neither here nor there.
In Canada, and they didn't care the first time.
Well, it's only when you go back in the United States.
Oh, but when we already had landed one time.
Yeah.
Oh, Canada. Yeah, Canada doesn't care.
Canada doesn't care. Canada's like, hey, come on in, eh? So that's what they do. But here we have regulations. So we are on our way to Juneau, and it's actually pretty beautiful. We got some new snow. It's very cold coming out of Whitehorse.
We got glaciers. We have beautiful, something like you couldn't even see in National Geographic. Like looks like ocean waves, but with ice. It was gorgeous.
Yep.
It was nothing like I'd ever seen. Waterfalls, like breathtaking, except for I wanted to vomit at the same time at some point.
You want to tell us why you wanted to vomit there?
Well, actually we had the beautiful views and everything was so beautiful, and then we had one quick fast drop, and everything slammed up, and we hit our head on the ceiling, everything went flying, and then it went back to smooth, and I was like, okay, like that's how rough it can get. That was the first time.
That was the first time.
The
rest of our flight was beautiful. We were over, what else?
Skagway and Haines on the way into Juneau.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Beautiful area, just like water everywhere. You got a bunch of glaciers coming down the mountains, like just coming down, cascading waterfalls. It was really cool. We get to Juneau, everything's good. We meet with what?
Customs.
With customs, and a lady who was very nice helped us out. Gave Jen as many stamps on her passport as she wanted.
2 stamps. 2 fish stamps for me.
You got 3.
I didn't get to 3.
Yeah, you did.
You got the date stamp.
The date stamp and then 2 more.
Bottom line, I didn't even know.
You got 2 fishes on your.
Yeah.
I got stamped up. That's all that matters.
Who gets fish on their passports? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Jen does. That's what she does.
Thanks. Yeah.
I sweet talked her. What can I say?
Yeah. So she was very nice to us, and then she led us on our way. We went over and sat in the pilot's lounge waiting for other places to clear up. While we were sitting there, we got some food. Ate a little bit of chips, some popcorn, some bean dip, because Poppy doesn't go anywhere without bean dip.
The VIP lounge.
Yeah, the VIP lounge, because we were there. Then we got to see some cool Pilateses that were military versions come in, which was pretty cool to see them. And then we hopped back in the plane. Everything was pretty good on takeoff. It was pretty easy. Everything was looking clear. And then we got about, 15 minutes into the flight, Jed?
Yeah, probably 25 minutes. We got out toward where the Sound meets the Pacific Ocean. So there's a narrow section, and then there's Glacier Bay where those cruise ships go in. You see all those pictures of the glaciers. So that's like a big area that comes down off the glaciers. And as we passed by that, we were higher, and we were getting like a 45 knot crosswind as we crossed that at about 2,500 feet. So I went down to about 2,000 feet, and the wind went away. So we thought it was going to be okay after that.
That's what we thought. We were wrong.
Wait. So this point, this is when I was like, okay, get your ass to sleep. Because if you sleep, you get to keep your French onion soup. And so it's like slight turbulence, and Josh can always sleep. So I'm like, okay, go to sleep when it's smooth. So I go to sleep. I'm feeling good. And Poppy hits me, and he hits me like in a frantic. And I'm like, I get up, and I see this big lake. This whole little view, and I thought he was just hitting me because it was a pretty view. I didn't know there was mountain goat.
Did you see them?
No, I started videoing, so maybe I'll see him in the video. But I just instantly busted out my GoPro, started videoing. I saw beautiful scenery. I got excited, and that's when shit went wrong. Like, we started shaking, and I'm talking you, the big jump that we did before when we landed. I asked Judd, are you scared? Because, like, I got scared, and I was, like, looking to you to see if you were scared. Like, were you scared? He's like, oh, no, that happens every now and then. You hit a pocket, you drop, not a big deal. He's like, but if it keeps happening, that's when you want to turn around. That's when you get scared. Pretty much. And that's exactly what happened. I'm telling you, I was death gripping the front of my seat and clenching my butt cheeks so hard, and I had the fan positioned perfectly in my face, and I was deep breathing and like trying to keep my stomach together and praying at the same time and talking to myself at the same time, like, get your shit together. You can do this. Like, if you vomit, it's going everywhere. And I'm telling you, I hyperventilated to the point where my fingers started tingling, and I was like, oh my gosh, like my fingers started tingling, my toes started tingling, and I was like, I gotta slow my breathing down. My right hand even started like getting tight. Like, I was like, what the hell? Like, I don't know if I was having a little bit of an anxiety attack probably, because I thought I was gonna die. I said my last prayers, legitimately said everything I was fucking thankful for. I was like, I've had a good life. I got a great education. I got to save some lives. I didn't get to have kids. I didn't get to get married. I was thinking about all the shit I should have done really fast. I was like, I seriously was weighing my life and death at this point. Like, and then I just realized there's nothing you can fucking do besides kiss your ass goodbye if that's where it's at. Sure. So then I started praying for Judd, because first I was praying for my own life, and then I was like, okay, Judd's got this. But then I looked up, and Judd's fingers are going crazy, and I'm like, okay, now Judd's scared. Like, there's things going on, but he can't get it because we keep slamming our heads up in the air. And at one point, I just keep my eyes shut, and I open my eyes, and I see a fire extinguisher flying up in the air, and I'm like, oh my God. Josh just grabs the fire extinguisher, slams it between his legs, and at this point, I am sweating. I am seconds away from vomiting. I had so many emotions going through my body at this point. Why don't you tell me what you're feeling, Josh? I'm hogging the mic, but it was emotional.
Yeah, so I've been through some turbulence, but nothing like that sustained turbulence. So it was back and forth rocking. I'm not one who is scared of flying. I actually like flying quite a bit, and I was gripping the bottom of my seat like my life depended on it.
That would have been smart. I should have held on the bottom. I was holding on the front.
See, you're learning something. So right above my head on the left side was the case for all the fishing poles. And so every time that I bounced up, I'm hitting the fishing pole, and most of the time it was my headset that was taking most of the brunt. But there was a couple times where I went forward and then came back and got the fishing pole case in the side of my head, which did not feel great. So I'm trying to, with one hand, hold myself down, the other hand, hold the fishing pole case out of my way so I'm not whacking that. And then there was the whole fire extinguisher incident, which I can't even believe I caught. I'll be honest with you.
I think it didn't hit Judd in the face.
It just flew up I don't even know where it came from. It flew up out of nowhere, and I was like, I should get that before it hits one of us in the head and we get a concussion. But I was like, which hand do I let go of this seat right now?
I couldn't tell if Poppy was scared, and at one point, I opened my eyes, and Poppy has a little flip mirror, and he was like this, with this shit-eating grin, just smiling, looking back at me, trying to see what I was doing. I was like, oh my gosh, Poppy, it doesn't seem phased at all.
He was trying to see if we were going to puke. That's what he was doing. Little shit. I cannot believe him. Anyway, so the whole time we're just going through this,
It
and
makes me breathe funny just thinking about it.
right? It seems like no matter which altitude we pick, it is rough as hell.
We're talking, we have about 5 seconds between getting slammed up, and then we recover, and we get our bearings, and then we get slammed up, and shit flies everywhere. I'm talking everything. It was almost like we were in space. Things were just floating, and then they'd slam, and then they'd float, and we'd slam.
The thing that got me was actually when the winds were pushing us so hard that we were going like this in the air. That was the scary part for me. I mean, the up and down is crazy, but when you're going this way and all of a sudden the nose is pointing the other directions and then pointing back, that's a little scary because I'm not sure how much wind it takes to take the tail off of an airplane, but I didn't want to find out.
Tell us how you felt.
Yeah, tell us how you felt.
As a pilot whose all of our lives are in his hands. How's that feel?
It was a rough ride.
The calm version.
So, I'm always concerned about my passengers. And yeah, those big bumps, big bumps are not that uncommon to have, where you get slammed. But yeah, when it was a long rough ride. It was probably the longest.
Give them the uncensored version.
You're the uncensored version.
Tell us how you felt.
That's your role here. You're the uncensored version.
Tell us how you felt. I want to know your true feeling. Oh, it was a grumpy ride. Tell us at one point I was like, oh shit, you know what I mean?
Well, no, I was really anxious for it to be over because it was a lot of work.
Did you know how much longer it was?
Yeah, I did know how long. We had about 45 minutes of.
45 minutes.
Well,
of
we had
nonsense?
one really rough section, and then it was smooth. We got down right low on the beach, and the heavy winds were over the top of us, and so we had about 20 minutes where it was actually pretty nice, and we're just scooting along the beach. Everything was good, and then there was an opening in the mountain range where the outflow winds came across, and we had up to 40 knot crosswind again, and that's where you said we were crabbing sideways. You could see how sideways we were. So it was just
scary as shit.
Yeah, it was. Well, it's just super uncomfortable. It's a lot of work as a pilot, and I feel really bad for you guys hanging on. And everything really is truly flying around the cabin. and Poppy's got that enormous iPad, the biggest one you can buy, and he's trying. He's trying to hold on to it, and at these big bumps, and this thing is flying. I'm more worried about you had the fire extinguisher, but that iPad was flying around pretty regularly in the front.
The iPad's pretty sharp on the edges.
That was pretty big, so that was a bit concerning. And yes, it was I really couldn't do anything with the radio knobs and things because you'd try and get close and your arm would literally slam up and down.
It was really. You could have knocked something out.
Yeah. So I really just kind of kept my hands off of things and just flew the airplane. So.
But when you say
it was a very, very rough, turbulent ride, and definitely the longest rough ride that I've ever